the tissue, and a blood torrent erupted. Carlos grabbed a sponge and pressed down, then got out of the way just as Starzl threw another stitch and tied it himself. He threw two more in the same spot. Carlos tied one and Shun the other, and finally the bleeding stopped. Shun frowned at me and vaguely shook his head. I decided I could cut the ends of the stitches after they tied them. It was a job we gave to medical students. I was a trained surgeon, and a good one by all accounts back in Utah, where I'd finished my training less than a month earlier. So I grabbed a pair of scissors and cut the suture.
"Too short, goddammit," Starzl said. "That'll come loose and he'll bleed to death. Is that what you want?"
He laid down another stitch, and Shun tied it, 4 throws, and I cut it.
"That's too long," Starzl whined. "Come on now, Shun, help me. He doesn't know what he's doing."
I worked my last day as a surgery resident at the University of Utah on June 30th, 1981. I was 31 years old, and I wanted to be a transplant surgeon. Dr. Thomas E. Starzl, the father of liver transplantation and perhaps the most renowned transplant surgeon in the world, had granted me a position to train with his team. He had moved his transplant program to Pittsburgh only 6 months earlier. I'd grown up in Ohio, but I'd never been to Pittsburgh. I hated their football team, the Steelers, because they always beat my beloved Cleveland Browns. My wife and I sold her car, gave the pickup truck to a friend, loaded my car and everything else into a rented truck, and headed for Ohio before dawn on Saturday, July 4th. 8 miles east of Point of Rocks, Wyoming, we hit an antelope yearling just as the sun rose above the rocks and sage. In Omaha, we drove through smoke from a grass fire started by fireworks. In Ohio, we unloaded the truck into my father's garage. I turned in the rental on Monday and called Starzl's Pittsburgh office the next day to ask advice about where to find a place to live. I had arranged to take the month of July off. I figured 5 years of surgery residency and the specter of a 2-year fellowship in transplant surgery justified it. We'd get a place to live and move in, and I'd have nearly 3 weeks to do whatever I wanted. It would be like summer vacation when I was 12. The secretary in Starzl's office put me on hold. She said I needed to talk to someone else. A female voice with a strange twang I'd later recognize as Pittsburghese came on.
"Dr. Shaw, where the hell are you?"
I said I was in Ohio, at my father's house.
"You were supposed to be here last week," she said. "July 1st, you know."
She didn't understand. I'd talked to someone in March. A woman, I said. She promised to tell Dr. Starzl. I wasn't supposed to start until August. I looked at the calendar on the wall above the phone in my dad's kitchen. "Saturday," I said. "August 1st.
"We don't have any information about that, Dr. Shaw," she said. "Dr. Starzl expected you last week. You've already missed 2 nights of call. I suggest you get your butt here today, tomorrow at the latest."
That was Tuesday morning. By Thursday night, we'd driven to Pittsburgh, put money down on a house a few blocks from the hospital, moved what we could with my dad's pickup, and found a grocery store open after 10 p.m. I made my way to the hospital Friday morning, and that evening my wife called to say the refrigerator had died. On Saturday, I was on call when someone broke the window out of my car on the hill above the football stadium. They stole my toolbox and a Utah Jazz coffee mug. Sandy told me she wouldn't have parked up there. Sandy was a nurse on the transplant team. She led me around the hospital my first day and told me where not to park on my second. When we went to the adult intensive care unit, a young woman in a short white coat and a shiny new stethoscope draped around her neck asked me to sign a petition banning liver transplants.
"They're unethical," she explained.
I wanted to laugh, but she was so earnest. I said I was the new transplant fellow.